Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve. So on this video, I'm going to talk about why you don't need to be optimal to build muscle. Before we get into this topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas I turn into videos just like this. If you need coaching, I'd love to work with you. Check out the link down below. All right, optimal. It's tossed around just to a crazy degree in the muscle building world. We can't stop talking about optimal training splits, optimal consistency, optimal nutrition, optimal this or that. Now I'm here to tell you, and this is going to sound a little bit controversial, but optimal does not matter. What matters is being proficient, and let me explain. If you take all the variables involved with muscle building, consistency, hard training, progressive overload, a reasonable exercise selection, a reasonable amount of volume, nailing your nutrition, nailing your bulk, nailing your form, all these things, all these variables play into muscle building, right? You do not need to be optimal or perfect at all of them. That's a myth or a lie. What I want you guys to think about, rather than trying to be optimal in all areas, try to be proficient in all areas to a reasonable degree. If you are nailing these areas to a reasonable degree, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be optimal. You can set that burden aside, just pull it off your back and relax a little bit. We don't need to be perfect. When it comes to consistency, you don't need to perfectly nail 4 days a week training or 5 days a week training or whatever you're at. You don't have to panic if you miss a day or add an extra rest day, because it's not about being optimal. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent, and it's about being proficient. Over the course of 5 to 10 years, and that's your muscle building journey, as long as you're proficient, some weeks you might only have 2 workouts, most weeks you have 4 workouts, 5 workouts, some weeks you only have 3. As long as you remain proficient and don't focus on optimal, you're going to be fine. Adding in extra rest days, taking a few extra days off here and there from sickness, they're not going to matter. Now, the same thing with hard training. I tell people to train hard, and that is the driver of hypertrophy. It is the thing that drives strength increases. I go into the gym and I push to make every set hard, and from that I get +1s. Now, I am not perfect, and I want people to understand I am not perfect all the time. I'm not always sticking to my program. I don't always push every set hard. I push maybe 80% of my sets hard. There is room there. Some days I just don't feel like it on the 3rd set. Some days by the time I get to the 3rd exercise, I'm not feeling it, and I might save it and only push on the last set. You don't have to be optimal or perfect with hard training. You just need to be proficient. You probably need to nail it somewhere around 75 to 80% of the time. And if you do that over the course of 5 to 10 years, you're going to be fine. You can relax. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to panic that if you don't nail every set of every workout, that somehow you're not going to build muscle. This is absolute nonsense. The same thing goes with progressive overload. You're in the gym, you're working hard, you nail your progression indicator, you know you're supposed to add weight, and you want to take 1 extra week to kind of get the feel of this weight, to kind of get your feet under you, just to kind of, get your senses about this whole thing. That's okay. You don't have to immediately move up in weight every time. You can be 75, 80%. You don't have to be optimal. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be proficient. You can move up most of the time, and you can't stall, certainly. If you hit 190 by 8 on bench and you know it's time to move up to 195, you could maybe push that 1 week, right? But you can't push it forever. You can't continue to do that, or you're going to kill your gains, so to speak. But holding steady 1 week isn't the end of all gains. It's nothing to panic about. Sometimes I have to build a little bit of mental confidence or mental steam with the weight, and holding that weight steady for a week isn't the worst thing. So set that burden aside. We need to be about 75 to 80% proficient on our progressive overload, as long as we're just not stopping and holding steady completely. Now, nutrition. We need to be proficient with our nutrition, but not perfect. We need to set calorie targets, we need to set protein targets, and we need to make sure our bulks and our cuts are headed in the right direction. Now, there's certainly wiggle room to have fun. You don't have to be perfectly healthy with your food choices. You can eat a few Doritos here or there. You can eat a little bit of ice cream here and there. That's called balance. As long as you're about 75 to 80% with your calories and you're really nailing your clean eating, you are fine. You don't need to be optimal. You don't need to be perfect. You can relax a little bit. The same goes with daily calorie intake. You have a calorie goal and you're trying to reach a certain bulk level. As long as that trend is moving up where it's supposed to move, and it's not moving up and then flatlining because you hit 3 or 4 or 5 days where you were just at more at maintenance level, having a day or two in the mix where you're a little bit higher or a little bit lower, that's okay. You don't need to be perfect to nail your gains. Sleep. You need to be proficient at sleep, but not perfect. Despite how some of the chatter goes in the muscle building world that sleep is hyper anabolic, many lifters, especially those with a lot of stress or school demands or parenting demands, know that sleep is rarely optimal. You just need to be reasonably proficient. You don't need to be perfect or optimal. So the final word here is that when we look at all the variables for hypertrophy, there is a belief that we somehow need to be perfect or optimal with all of these variables, and that is nonsense. I want you guys to remember you need to be proficient. As long as things are headed where they're supposed to go, with progressive overload, with hard training, with nutrition, with consistency, you are going to be fine. I'm not trying to encourage you guys to slack off or slouch, but just take that burden off your back that somehow you need to be absolutely perfect in every area or you're not going to build muscle. It is nonsense. So guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.